Hi everyone, welcome back to another Reddit cheating story. Before we start, please hit the subscribe button and notification bell if you love to watch more cheating stories. My wife of 11 years had a long-term affair and expected me to stay and fix everything. After I found out, I met someone new and left her. Sorry for the super long post. My wife abandoned me for another man. She was my best friend and the person I trusted the most in the world. I found out that she had been the other woman in this man's marriage before I married her, and they reconnected on Instagram 10 years later and started an intimate and physical relationship back up. The pandemic was hard on us. I lost my creative director job in the travel industry early in 2020 when lockdown happened, and because she had a very secure and well-paying job in clinical research, we decided that I would take on freelance work as I could but would become full-time dad and caregiver to our two small children while she worked her job from home. So I dove into my new role. I took our kids on nature adventures, planned activities, took care of meals, shopping, did arts and crafts, got them down for naps, helped my daughter through kindergarten virtual learning while my wife worked and took 2-hour naps, and locked me out of my own room daily. When I'm stressed, I become a massive people pleaser, and she knew that and took advantage of it. She also had an alcohol addiction problem and would hide boxes of wine from me. I tried to help her with all of that and keep her accountable because she asked me to, but I would still find hidden boxes of wine in random places. Still, I loved her and I tried so hard to always be there for her and to make her life more comfortable, even as she used me as her negativity and complaint sounding board. She started seeing a therapist for the first time during this time, and that made me super happy because I knew she had some issues to work through. So she would leave during the week to go see her therapist and would come back a few hours later. I eventually discovered that a lot of these times she wasn't going to see her therapist but was going to have rendezvous with her affair partner. I thought things were starting to get better between us a little, and we even went and updated the diamond in her ring while she was sleeping with the other man. It was crazy because my heart knew something was up and that something was very wrong in our relationship. Our intimacy was way off, and when I tried to bring it up she would gaslight me a lot and say everything was fine. During the pandemic, my best friend moved to Lake Tahoe and was trying to get me out to visit him. When I brought it up to my soon-to-be ex, she was excited and even helped me purchase my ticket. When I saw my friend in Tahoe, he could tell something was way off with me and later said I looked more down than he'd ever seen me. I was only gone 3 to 4 days, but it was crazy how much I missed her while I was gone. When I got home from Tahoe, I returned to a very frazzled wife from apparently keeping our kids for 3 days by herself. I'm sure they were together the whole time my kids were at school. She was so upset, and when she mentioned getting herself a hotel room for a few days, I obviously was like, yes. Please do that. Go recharge. So I kept my kids for the weekend and missed her the whole time. When she got home, she had just gone to the salon and she looked beautiful to me. I was happy to see her and was like, hey, it's been a minute, maybe we can do it later, and she agreed. That evening, while she was giving the kids a bath, she had left her phone on the kitchen counter, and I have no idea what drove me to it, but my suspicion was up. I'd never picked her phone up and looked through it before, but this day, I did, and I found an app that I had heard of that was for secret messaging. I opened it, typed in our anniversary as the password, and then saw a text that would give me trauma and change my life forever. It read from her, "Have a great run, babe, miss you already, but..." Babe? Babe? That's my name? My whole world came crashing down. There was no name for who this was, just some initials and connected to a phone number, so I did a reverse search and found out who this man was. I looked him up on Facebook and found his profile and left it open on my phone and went and got in the shower and was shaking and crying my brains out. I got out of the shower probably an hour later and she had put the kids to bed. I came out and I knew she knew. That I knew. She put on baseball for me and sounded panicked. I asked her to sit down and said, "Who is he?" She came clean and told me about him and that they had had an intimate and emotional relationship for almost a year. I hate to say it, but I lost it. I freaked out, cried my brains out, had an emotional breakdown, and eventually left the house to go cry with a friend all night. This discovery traumatized me. I stayed at my friend's house for a night or two, and then it was my son's 4th birthday. I wanted him to have a great birthday despite all of this, so I let my wife hang with the kids for a while, and then I packed my kids up and took them to my sister's a few hours away. I asked my wife over and over if she had ended her relationship, and she said she hadn't because she wanted closure with her partner. I got back and had to take her to the hospital because she thought she was dying, but it was a panic attack. I sat with her in the most depressing hospital room ever, comforting her after she had broken my heart, shattered my world, and had not yet ended her relationship with the other man. It took her almost 2 weeks to be able to tell me that she ended it with him. Those weeks were literally torture for my mind, body and soul. I went and stayed at an Airbnb and I lost probably 15 to 20 pounds. Anyway, I didn't have a full-time job yet and she was the breadwinner at the time and I couldn't leave my kids. I love them with my whole heart, so I felt stuck. So we separated in the same house. I began sleeping on the couch and my son eventually moved on his own into his sister's room and I lived on an air mattress in his room while my wife continued to sleep in our old room. She eventually told me that it was over with her affair partner and that him and his wife were going to try and work on their marriage and that she wanted to go to counseling and work on ours. I reluctantly agreed, but I knew deep down that she had done the very thing I told her would end our relationship, and I wasn't kidding about that, and I was no longer attracted to her. We started counseling and that opened Pandora's box for me and made me take off my rose-colored glasses about so many things in our relationship and the way I had been treated over the years. And I knew it was over the one time we tried to be intimate and all I could see were images of this man in my head. A few months into this it wasn't going anywhere and she still was not proving to me that she actually loved me and wanted to be with me, and she hated when I asked questions about her affair and we got in numerous fights. One warm summer day I asked her if she wanted to take the day off and go to the lake with me and the kids. She said she couldn't, so, like usual, I took the kids to the lake by myself. When I was walking up to the lake I saw a beautiful woman lounging with her 2 kids. I set up my stuff a little over from her and eventually our kids started playing together, and so her and I started chatting and didn't stop chatting for almost 6 hours. We felt an instant connection and had an enormous amount in common. She was going through a separation herself. I left that day and couldn't stop thinking about her. But I let that go and for the next few weeks still tried to go to counseling and work on my marriage. Eventually this woman and I connected on Instagram and began talking and enjoying each other's company, nothing physically. Long story short, my wife found out that we had been talking and lost her shit on me and told me I was no better than her, etc. I told her I would try and end it. And I did, but it only lasted a little time before I realized I wanted to keep talking to this woman. So eventually, I found a great job and told my wife that I had to move out and that I would maybe pursue a relationship with this woman. It's been about 6 months since I moved out into my own and we have started the divorce process, but my wife has made so much of my life a living hell and has made me feel so guilty for leaving her and perusing another relationship after what she did. Every time she has found out that I have been talking or hanging out, she has lost her mind on me and said the most hurtful things to me imaginable. All while she tweets about her own single dating life. I spent Thanksgiving Day with the woman I met and my ex ruined my day and made me feel completely awful. Come to find out my wife was still talking to her affair partner until 9 when the man's wife found a letter he had been writing to my ex. She confessed this to me when she thought the man's wife had contacted me. She hadn't. So the whole time she was laying into me. I should mention that I don't ever lay into her anymore about her affair. She was still carrying on with him. Anyway, I really like this woman still and feel like I could maybe love and trust her, but my ex is making my life a living hell for moving on even though we are divorcing. I'm trying to stay as kind as possible to her and be discreet and understanding while still exploring this relationship, and I don't feel like I'm in the wrong for leaving, following my heart and moving on after my heart wound, but maybe I am. I still care for my soon-to-be ex-wife and I miss the memory of the person that I thought I knew and loved, but the moment I found out about this betrayal, it fundamentally changed the way in which I view her and our future together. I never wanted to be divorced, I hate it. But I know my heart and I know when it's broken so badly by someone and when it's trying to move on. It's gone and so is the trust. And even though I'm very in love with my nostalgic memories from our past together, and occasionally miss her a lot, we're no longer compatible because she forever broke my trust. It's crazy because I was so loyal and would have remained that way through the darkest days, but this was where I drew the boundary and it was crossed and I'm having to move on from this relationship and marriage. My main goal is just to be the best dad and co-parent that I possibly can be while still enjoying and moving on with my life. We're doing good with managing the kids so far and the kids have adjusted to 2 households. And we are splitting everything 50-50. But I still have a lot of anxiety from all of this and still feel the trauma and grief of what I went through. I have a therapist and that is helping some. Anyway, I just needed to share this story. I think there is hope for the future still in my love life and I'm thankful in the end that I can move forward, but none of this has been easy. Here are some of the best comments from our community. Screw your wife. Go to the courts, they can make it so you both have to download this app that is specifically for communicating about your children. Then you continue with the divorce stuff. There is absolutely no reason you should feel guilty for moving on with your life. Remember, she did this. Not you. You seem like a decent person and a good dad. Let her suffer, she created this mess. Actions have consequences. It also seems like this new lady gets along well with you. Keep it going, don't worry about someone else's, your wife, feelings when she clearly wasn't worried about yours while running rampant with her app. I'm so sorry for what your wife has put you through. You're doing the right thing by moving on. You deserve to be with someone who respects you, and someone you can trust. Your wife isn't that person. You deserve a chance at happiness. Go for it. Best wishes. Screw what your ex-wife thinks. You deserve happiness. Also, your ex-wife is a big hypocrite. You are no better than her. On the contrary, yes, you are. She carried a long-ass affair, not you. Download some co-parenting app and communicate with her only through those. Let her be miserable all she wants. Also, tell her that if she tries some funny business with your kids, you would take her to court again for full custody. Good luck, my friend. I hope this gal is your new happiness. Godspeed. She opened Pandora's box when she cheated. You tried, she lied, and you no longer felt an obligation to her anymore. You asked for divorce and now you're moving on. The way I see it, when someone cheats outside of abuse or a criminal act, they have no right to be upset at their betrayed partner's reaction. This happened to me once and I changed when it did. I can't explain it, I just didn't care what she did after she cheated on me, and I moved on with another relationship pretty quickly. 11 years is quite some time to toss over a few weak lust. I am one to say there is always two sides to a story. How much attention did you give her? Small things like you look great today, or how was your day? If you let things get stale, usually these things happen. And then on the other hand, she could have had her ticket punched long ago. Maybe she didn't feel compatible anymore. Anyway, you look at it, what's done is done. You can't run your life while she is living hers. Show her you can do better. Thank you for watching. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Remember to subscribe and hit the notification bell.